Well, good afternoon. I've been thinking about a good subject for this Thursday thought for, several days now. A variety of subjects have been running through my mind, but none have really taken hold in any significant way. So today, a deadline quickly approaching, I find myself going over these various subjects again, trying to come up with something that's appropriate for this forum. Well, a couple of things have sort of stuck over the last few days, and I'll just tell you what both of them are. One is the incredible change in life, living, and society in the last 60 or so years. I grew up in the 1950s and 1960s in the age of 21-inch black and white television, black dial type wall phones, and enormous cars with engines the size of aircraft engines. And I wondered then, as many did, what the turn of the century might be like. I wondered what life would be like in the years following that time in the mid-20th century. Back then, we had visions of routine space travel by everyone, flying cars, robots that would do everything for us, and the infamous Dick Tracy two-way wrist TV. Well, of course, all of that was at that time nothing more than wishful thinking and dreaming. However, today, much of that and more is current technology. Who, for example, could have dreamed of what we know as the cell phone today? Think of the enormous impact that this one invention has had on the world, let alone the internet. That goes right along with the phone. And think of all the other changes that have taken place in medicine, the environment, space travel and exploration, housing, transportation, agriculture, politics, and energy. Well, to say it's mind-boggling is really an understatement. Now, the other thought that I've had that's kind of stuck has actually been in one of those above categories, and that's medicine. You know, it used to be when I was a younger lad that I had little need of medical professionals. In the early days of life, I seldom needed to even see our family doc. Oh, I got my vaccinations and once in a while needed to see him for some kind of an injury or, as a little kid might say, a boo-boo. Dr. Bush was an old-time family physician doing everything from taking and interpreting his own x-rays to giving injections, setting bones, stitching up minor wounds. He and his wife Jenny, his nurse, brought me into the world, and they kept us all going throughout the 50s and early 60s. The clinic he operated was on a first-come, first-served basis. There were no appointments. You just showed up in the waiting area. You took stock of who had come in before you, and you took your turn. Pretty simple, actually, and I never, and I mean never, had to pay a bill, either before or after my visit. And as an older child, I did see Dr. Bush even without my parents knowing beforehand. He treated me without first asking my parents for permission. I presume my parents eventually got a bill, but I never was sure. Dr. Bush lived modestly and he worked hard. He did house calls. He delivered babies. He ran a hospital until later on in the 1950s. He billed himself as an osteopath, physician, and surgeon. His wife was a nurse, as I said, and was his right hand. That was the way medicine was done then. Well, now I don't know how many specialists in my healthcare stable. Primary care, dermatology, cardiology, urology, physical therapy, ENT, chiropractic, dental, oral surgeon. Did I leave anyone out? And it seems that every other day or so I have this or that medical appointment or therapy. You know, I think sometimes I'm in a doctor's office more than I'm at work. I also have to either pay up front or have good insurance in order to see anyone about a medical issue. My, how things have changed. I have at least 6 prescription medications that I routinely take for blood pressure, cholesterol, and some other conditions. I'm doing exercises for my back and my shoulder. I'm in the middle of having dental implants, and I sometimes think I'm just gradually falling apart at the seams. Well, of course, in a way, I am falling apart. As we all get older, we're less and less able to cope and adjust to the physical deterioration that inevitably happens. It's just a fact of life and living. Well, as I think about these two different but somewhat related subjects, I still wonder what my topic for this Thursday thought ought to be. But I really needn't wonder, though, because the topic of this thought actually has turned out to be these two topics of my thoughts and how things and times have changed over the years. You know, I've often thought about my grandfather, born in the 1870 and passing away in 1966. I think of the enormous changes that he saw in his lifetime. The automobile, space travel, television, radio, movies, the polio vaccine, several wars, the demise of the gold standard for our currency, air travel, atomic energy, and many other foundational and incredible inventions, events, and occurrences. And then I think of my own 70-odd years and how much has changed and how much has stayed the same. I'm grateful for the time that God has given me, and I look forward to whatever time I may have left. I especially look ahead, though, to being in God's presence, no longer needing medications, therapists, providers, dentists. May God bless you today.